How news addiction rewires your brain and steals your focus. Why your brain became hostage to the news cycle. Picture this: you wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, your hand is already reaching for your phone. Within seconds, you're drowning in an endless stream of breaking news, updates, and headlines promising to keep you informed. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to face: you're not getting informed, you're getting hooked. Your brain evolved over millions of years to detect threats and novelties as a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, this function kept our ancestors alive by spotting predators or environmental changes. Today, media companies exploit this same primitive system to capture your attention in addictive ways. Every notification, every sensational headline, every breaking news alert triggers the same neurological alarm your ancestors felt when spotting a saber-toothed tiger. Research from Sussex University revealed that excessive news consumption activates the same brain regions associated with substance addiction. This means your brain literally treats news like a drug. And like any drug, you need increasingly larger doses to feel the same effect. That's why you find yourself scrolling obsessively, always hunting for the next piece of information that will make a difference. But here's what's really happening. While you consume these fragmented pieces of information, your prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for focus, planning, and decision-making, becomes completely overwhelmed. It's like trying to drive a car while 50 people scream different directions in your ear. Your brain simply cannot process this much simultaneous information without shifting into survival mode. The result is predictable. You feel constantly anxious, distracted, and overwhelmed. Your ability to concentrate drops dramatically. Important projects remain half-finished. Your personal relationships suffer because you can't stay present. And here's the ultimate irony: despite consuming more information than any previous generation, you feel less informed and more confused than ever before. The media industry discovered that negative news generates 63% more engagement than positive news. This isn't coincidence. Your brain is being hijacked by a system that profits from your addiction, your anxiety, and your inability to focus on what truly matters. Every click you make feeds an algorithm designed to keep you trapped in this destructive cycle. The question you should be asking isn't, "What's happening in the world?" but rather, "What is this uncontrolled information consumption doing to my mind?" The answer will shock you. When you recognize this pattern destroying your mental clarity, your relationships, and your ability to achieve meaningful goals, you realize something has to change. The dopamine hits from constant news updates are stealing your capacity for deep thinking, creative problem solving, and sustained focus on projects that could transform your life. Think about your most productive, creative moments. Were they when you were scrolling through news feeds, or when you were completely disconnected from the digital noise? The correlation is undeniable, yet most people continue feeding this mental addiction daily. If you recognize this pattern in your life, drop an awakening in the comments. Hit that like button if this video is making you reconsider your digital habits, and subscribe to discover how to break this addictive cycle. How information overload destroys your ability to think clearly. Imagine your brain as a high-performance computer. Now imagine someone opens 50 different programs simultaneously, each downloading heavy files, streaming 4,000 videos, and processing complex data at the same time. What happens? The system freezes, overheats, and stops functioning properly. This is exactly what news addiction does to your mind. When you bombard your brain with a constant stream of fragmented information, a political story here, an economic report there, a celebrity scandal, an international crisis, a scientific breakthrough, you force your nervous system to process disconnected data without allowing time for real assimilation. The result is what neuroscientists call cognitive overload. Researchers at Carnegie Mellon University discovered that people exposed to multiple simultaneous information sources show up to a 40% reduction in their ability to solve complex problems. Your effective IQ literally decreases when your attention is divided between multiple informational inputs. It's like trying to solve a mathematical equation while someone shouts random numbers in your ear. But the problem goes beyond simple distraction. Every news story you consume carries an emotional charge. A headline about urban violence activates your alarm system. Economic crisis news triggers your financial anxiety. A political scandal increases your indignation. Your brain cannot distinguish between a real threat present in your physical environment and information about something happening on the other side of the world. The result is that you live in a state of constant alert, as if being pursued by an invisible predator. Your sympathetic nervous system, responsible for fight or flight responses, remains chronically activated. This not only drains your mental energy, but also compromises essential cognitive functions like long-term memory, creativity, and analytical thinking. Here's a disturbing truth. The media industry knows this. They know that a brain in constant alert mode is an addicted brain, incapable of disconnecting from the stimulation source. That's why news is structured to create cliffhangers, use emotionally charged language, and promise revelations that never fully materialize. Have you noticed how, after an intense news consumption session, you feel mentally exhausted yet restless, like you've run a mental marathon but arrived nowhere? This isn't coincidence. Your brain has spent enormous amounts of energy processing information that, most of the time, is irrelevant to your real life and personal goals. The tragic irony is that while you feel well-informed, your ability to make intelligent decisions about your own life is being systematically destroyed. You know everything about the world's problems, but have lost touch with your own needs, dreams, and priorities. Your mental bandwidth is finite and precious. Every moment spent consuming anxiety-inducing news about situations you cannot control is a moment not invested in developing skills, building relationships, or working on projects that could actually transform your personal reality. If you felt this mental exhaustion after consuming too much news, drop a "drained" in the comments. Like if this content is making you question your information consumption habits, and subscribe to learn how to reclaim your mental focus. Why? You need an information detox starting now. The solution to news addiction isn't simply consuming less. That's like telling an alcoholic to drink in moderation, when your brain has already been hijacked by the addictive dopamine cycle that news creates. You need a radical mental detoxification strategy. And the first thing you must understand is this: the information you consume literally shapes your brain's physical structure. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, operates on a simple principle. Neurons that fire together, wire together. When you spend hours daily consuming fragmented, emotionally charged information, you're literally training your brain to function in a scattered, anxious manner. Every time you grab your phone for a quick check of the news, you strengthen the neural circuits of addiction and weaken the circuits of deep concentration. A groundbreaking study from Stanford University showed that people who implemented a 7-day information fast demonstrated significant improvements in sustained attention tests, working memory, and emotional regulation. But here's the secret they don't tell you: the first 3 days are the hardest because your brain literally enters withdrawal syndrome. You'll experience FOMO, fear of missing something important. You'll feel anxiety about not knowing what's happening. You'll have compulsive urges to check the news just for 5 minutes. This isn't weakness on your part, it's your nervous system reacting to the absence of the informational drug it has become accustomed to. It's exactly what happens when any addict stops using their substance of choice. But here's the transformative part. After this initial discomfort phase, something extraordinary happens. Your brain begins recovering its natural capacity for focus. You rediscover the pleasure of deep concentration. Your ideas become clearer. Your creativity resurfaces. You regain genuine interest in long-term projects that actually matter for your life. Practical implementation begins with 3 non-negotiable rules. First, eliminate all news notifications from your phone, and no, you won't miss anything truly important. Second, establish fixed, limited times for information consumption, maximum 20 minutes daily, preferably in the late afternoon. Third, replace the news consumption habit with activities that nourish your mind: book reading, meditation, physical exercise, or deep conversations with real people. The key is understanding that information detox isn't about becoming ignorant, it's about becoming selective. Instead of being a passive consumer of whatever information algorithms serve you, you become an intentional curator of inputs that serve your growth and goals. Start with what I call the intentional input rule. Every piece of information you consume must have a clear purpose connected to your personal objectives. If you want better health, consume content about nutrition and exercise. If you want professional growth, study your area of expertise. But generic news about global events? That's just mental noise, preventing you from focusing on what can actually change your reality. Remember, every piece of information entering your mind has an opportunity cost. Each minute you spend consuming news about things you cannot control is a minute you're not investing in developing skills, building relationships, or working on projects that could transform your personal reality. If you're ready to start your information detox, drop a restart in the comments. Like this video if it inspired you to rethink your relationship with news. And subscribe for more mental detox strategies. How to reclaim your focus and transform your life without news. Here's a truth that will liberate you. The most successful, creative, and fulfilled people in the world aren't those who consume more information, but those who learn to ruthlessly filter what enters their minds. Warren Buffett reads for hours daily, but never consumes real-time news. Elon Musk builds revolutionary companies by focusing on specific problems, not getting distracted by daily informational noise. They understood a fundamental principle you need to embrace now: information quality always trumps quantity. Real transformation begins when you replace passive information consumption with active value creation. Instead of spending 2 hours daily scrolling news feeds, imagine investing that same time learning a skill that could transform your career. Instead of worrying about political crises you cannot influence, channel that mental energy into solving real problems in your personal and professional life. Researchers at the University of Chicago discovered that people who eliminated daily news consumption and redirected that time toward personal development activities reported not only greater life satisfaction, but also concrete advances in their long-term goals. The secret isn't just stopping news consumption, but filling that mental void with inputs that nourish your personal growth. Implement what I call the intentional input rule. Every piece of information you consume must have a clear purpose connected to your personal objectives. If you want to improve your health, consume content about nutrition and exercise. If you want professional growth, study your area of expertise. If you want better relationships, read about psychology and communication. But generic news about global events? That's just mental noise preventing you from focusing on what can actually change your reality. Your daily practice should include 3 fundamental elements. First, start your day with clear intention, not news. Dedicate the first 30 minutes after waking to activities that nourish your mind: meditation, exercise, personal development, reading, or planning your goals. Second, create periods of deep focus without digital interruptions, at least 2 hours daily, where you dedicate yourself completely to an important task. Third, end your day reflecting on your personal progress, not the world's problems. Here's the practical result of this transformation. In 30 days, you'll notice your concentration ability has increased dramatically. In 60 days, you'll be making real progress on projects that remain stagnant for months. In 90 days, you'll have developed mental clarity that allows smarter decisions about your life. And in 6 months, you'll look back, unable to believe how you lived before in the constant mental fog of informational addiction. Society will try to convince you that you need to be well-informed to be a responsible citizen. But here's the subversive truth. You'll be a much more valuable citizen by focusing on becoming the best version of yourself than by passively consuming information about problems you cannot solve. Your greatest contribution to the world isn't staying updated on every global crisis, but developing your unique capabilities and using them to create real value. News addiction isn't just a bad habit, it's a systematic obstacle between you and your maximum potential. Breaking this cycle isn't optional if you want to live an extraordinary life. It's mandatory. If you're determined to free yourself from news addiction, drop a freedom in the comments. Like this video if it changed your perspective on information consumption, subscribe for more mental transformation strategies, and share it with someone who also needs to break free from this addictive cycle.